Aloha. Today we did melody writing or part writing. The only difference between doing this for a melody and then putting chords underneath it for flow would be to write it for a soprano, alto, tenor, and bass, and then turn this into a 4-part, meaning when we played our one chord, the D major in the key of D here, our notes would be divided amongst all 4 singers. If we were doing writing for 3-part, it would be soprano, alto, and tenor. And then sometimes you'll have binary part writing for either a soprano and a tenor, a bass, or for a solo or something like that. I think you did an amazing job of doing this. If this is the first couple times you've done it, when you're in like 200 or 300 of these, it should be easier. I'm in like my 50 or 60 of these. Central themes to look at. Write out your circle of fifths. Make sure you're comfortable with what your major grouping of chords are, your minor grouping of chords, and then the diminished. You do it for your key, erase everything else so you can just see that in your mind's eye. Write out all of your triads according to how they fall on your intervals, and then look at your notation. When you're trying to come up with some sort of melody, I think these were the notes that stuck out. The next thing to do after writing out your melody, feeling in that melody, this one being the D, 1, 2, 3, da da da. That's great. One of the things we were doing was playing that D major. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe what we can do before our 4 chord is throw a secondary dominant, which would be our 1 chord made into a dominant chord. Our 1, 7 is D. Then we've got our, 6 chord, but not as a minor, as a major, making it dominant, going into our E minor. That sounds great. When we do our D major, and then add a 7, it goes perfectly into our G major. When we have our B and then our B dominant there, into our E minor. Those little adaptations for these secondary dominants make this thing shine. I know you did it right at the last minute, but those are why we learn these little functions. Lastly, after doing that, we threw in a cadence ender. The cadence ender we chose to do was to do our PAC, perfect authentic cadence. We used the root of the A and then the root of the D. The reason being, when you don't do it in a root position and choose to put another note, it is not perfect. It is called imperfect authentic cadence. The perfect authentic cadence and imperfect authentic cadence refers solely to going to a 5 chord and then progressing back to the 1. If we had a plagal ending, it would be considered a 4-1. Deceptive, 6. If we were to do anything like a common tone shift, we would just take the D major, move the median. But that didn't sound good. There are many other different types of cadence endings, many different cadence endings and different ways to view music. This is just one of them. If you have this as A, our central theme, and you decided to write a secondary part and call it the B, you would maybe change one of your notes, phrasings. You would look for a motif like this that you have reoccurring and see how you could incorporate that down here. Meaning that this was a secondary motif. I would use this as a secondary motif down here in the B section. And then, God forbid, if we took that from an A section, which has the central theme and everything, did a B section which was closely related to it, but it has some variations, and then went to a C part. Wow, you could probably modulate to another key. You could try new time signature if you want. You can make it slower or faster. You could add different instruments. You could have a choral section. What we're saying is the sky is the limit. Great job doing this today. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week, and maybe we could expand upon either this one or another. I think that I'm going to take this song and try to work on it in Dorcio, D-O-R-R-C-I-O. It's a writing program that I'm learning how to do. And trying to chart this out will not only help me do that, but it will give us a lead sheet to go through. Anyway, it's good seeing you. I'll see you next week. Aloha.